Geared and suited up? Check. Battle ready? Check. Welcome back, F5 dads and players. Here's your review for Space Marine 2. So here at F5 Dad Reloaded, we're not your normal review site. I review games based on what you always wanted to know, but could never find. Custom-based categories such as the Resiliency Grind, or do I have to grind the same thing over and over, which could very easily lead to rage, or what I like to call rage risk. This leads me into making sure you're getting your money's worth, or a category I like to call time dividend. And what if you take an extended break? How easy can I go back and pick up and play? And finally, it's all about the fun factor, which speaks for itself. And at any point, feel free to add to the chat any of your custom review categories you would like to see, and it could be used in future reviews, as well as you being recognized for it. Let's get into this. So what is Space Marine 2? Space Marine 2 is a third-person shooter which drops you right back into the thick of it, 100 years after the first Space Marine game, and playing as the legend himself, Lieutenant Titus. Enrolling with Chiron and Godriel, facing down the Tyranid swarm. I think they even ate their own galaxy at one point as one huge all-you-can-eat buffet. A massive pest control nightmare. So you get to stomp through war-ravaged planets like Kataku and Avarax, all soaked in that signature Warhammer grim darkness that I know we all love. Between missions, you're hit the battle barge, basically your floating space man cave, for gear tweaks and pre-drop dad prep. It does offer 3 modes, with my favorite being the campaign mode. It allows for solo or 3 dad co-op, and it is cross-play ready. It also includes replayability with different difficulty tiers, collectibles, and lore-driven logs. Up next is operations mode, and basically solo with AI or co-op repeatable missions. It does include multiple maps with rotating objectives and escalating Tyranid chaos. There's 6 maps with rotating objectives and 6 different classes that does include your tactical, your assault, and a heavy as an example, all with a lot of XP grind and gear unlocks. And the last mode is around PvP, or known as Eternal War mode. I can tell you, as a dad gamer, my time is very limited, and I typically avoid any and all PvP, so I do apologize if you weren't expecting to hear that from me, but when I can play, you're going to find me doing solo and kicking back, not worried about the stress or rage that sometimes can be introduced by PvP. What I can tell you though, this is your Space Marine vs. Chaos. It does include objective-based maps, tactical decision-making, loadouts, cosmetic flex, armor sets, and plenty of weapon skins. Alright, Space Marines, I think we're at the drop point. Objectives are set. It's review time. No matter how much money someone has, you want to make sure what you spend it on is truly a value in the end. Time dividend measures how well a game respects your time and whether those hours feel earned, fulfilling, and worth the grind. The campaign mode does clock in around 10 to 12 hours for a standard run, with plenty of replay juice for dads chasing meta clears, collectibles, and challenge badges. Most players agree it's a sweet spot for a story-driven action game with no fluff. Now, if you're diving into the endgame grind, you will come across prestige ranks, gear optimization, and hardcore badge hunts, and prepare for a serious time sink. We're talking nearly 50 to 100 hours for a full dad commitment. The problem being reported, and here's the kicker, even casual dads report a satisfying arc early as progression feels snappy, cosmetics pop, and unlocks roll in at a steady pace. That said, the grind curve will flatten out. Once you hit that plateau, rewards per hour start to dip, and your favorite RNG, kidding of course because nobody likes RNG, begins to overshadow skill, and the time to value ratio will get muddied up. But for dads rolling with persistent squads, chasing leaderboards, or just vibing with the franchise fantasy, the grind will become part of the ritual. The co-op highs and the tight mechanics will help redeem the possible repetition that could be seen. The bottom line, Space Marine 2 delivers a strong dad time dividend up front, but the deeper you go, The more it asks of you, but if you're hooked on that loop, those hours are going to feel well spent. Unfortunately, casual players like myself might tap out early, but committed dads and players will find rich returns in the grind. So this is a tough one, as endgame grinders have a lot to enjoy, but players like myself, especially after beating the game, could experience endgame fatigue fairly quickly and tap out. And with that, I'm going to give Time Dividend a 3 out of 5. Welcome to the Resiliency Grind, an F5 Dad tier deep dive into persistence. This isn't just about mission repetition. It's rather the mental marathon or pushing through the constant setbacks while trying to survive the grind treadmill with your sanity and schedule intact. Progression here isn't a straight line. You'll find yourself juggling player levels, weapon XP, class unlocks, and prestige tiers. Each class and weapon has its own grinding to unlock, leading to meaningful upgrades, which often demands dozens of dedicated deployment hours, which all can be earned through relentless mission completions or brutal endgame feats. Now factor in the prestige system, which some call motivating, but I like to call it a dad trap, as the payoff rarely matches the effort. At higher tiers, drops will continue to get more stingy, forcing replays to feel more like chores than challenges. You want best in show gear or leaderboard recognition, you're going to need time, patience, and probably a second life. Daily and weekly challenges have now become a standard fare, often requiring niche objectives or class picks that force you into playing a role you didn't sign up for. The reward structure demands regular logins, and for many F5 dads or players, this could translate into pure dedication or simply an obligation, not the joy that video games should be providing. From my standpoint, challenge fatigue is a real thing here, and completionists, good luck, and God love you if you succeed, and nothing but respect. Over time, the system will punish solo players like myself, or even those with unpredictable co-op schedules. For F5 dads and players, Resiliency Grind gets stress tested. It's possible elite streamers and maybe even meta grinders will wear the grind like a badge. But for casuals and time-constrained F5 dads, the wall is just way too steep. Staying competitive or unlocking new content feels more like a full-time job. Space Marine 2 leans hard into its grind DNA, and great for those craving those endurance tests. Rough for anyone else looking to chase a clean, linear progression. Space Marine 2 Resiliency Grind scores a 3 out of 5. Welcome to Rage Risk Rundown, where we diagnose the F5 dad and player level frustrations that might send your controller flying or your patience packing. This isn't just about difficulty. It's about the moments that make you mutter, I just don't have time for this nonsense, as you find yourself yelling at the TV. Sometimes rage doesn't just come from gameplay. It could be technical failures such as crashes or developers nerfing a specific build or weapon, and this game is not immune to any of it. Mid to low tier computers, be warned, as Space Marine 2 can push your system harder than a toddler on a sugar rush. Stutters and crashes were experienced, although patches have resolved many of these issues. What can I say? If you only have 45 minutes to play and you spend 20 of them rebooting, that is prime rage fuel, and a good chance a broken controller or a keyboard is not far behind. After beating the campaign, the gameplay loop does deliver delicious carnage until it doesn't, as sudden difficulty spikes, opaque enemy logic, and punishing modes will turn your power fantasy into power raging. Many times, gear progression simply didn't match the challenge curve, leaving you underpowered and overwhelmed. F5 Dad's Rage Risk is given a 3 out of 5. Nothing's worse than when you decide to take a break, walk away, then come back a week later, scratch your head and say, how do I do that again? Yep, let's talk trail memory. How hard is it to jump back into Space Marine 2 after a dad or player break? Whether it's a week of work chaos, a family vacation, or just life doing its thing. Let's measure how forgiving the game is when you hit pause and then try to rejoin the fray. The game doesn't exactly roll out the red carpet for returning F5 dads or players. Sure, there's a codex, but the layers of class trees, gear slots, and endgame mechanics are deep enough to drown in. After a break, easily expect a multi-hour reorientation, rebuilding your loadout, decoding your control schemes, and trying to remember why that one enemy always jukes a certain way or why he always seems to have the upper hand. Checking online, there are multiple requests from fellow F5 dads and players begging for catch-up guides and meta recaps. The information gap is real, and it's wide. The game's patch cycle is relentless, with prestige tweaks, XP shifts, class reworks, and endgame modes, meaning your once optimized build might now be a heavy paperweight. Some F5 dads and players love the evolving changes, while others, like myself, I enjoy playing the same build and slapping those Tyranids around. Returning to Space Marine 2 isn't just about solo play, as it also has co-op, and if you enjoy playing with friends, especially the endgame replay and the grind, taking time away from your Space Marine crew while they keep playing, this could give you a real headache. When you do decide to come back, you're now underleveled and playing the catch-up grind, and honestly, sometimes it's easier to just simply walk away and go play something else. When it comes down to it, Space Marine 2 will punish time away as the systems are dense, the meta is unstable, and the re-entry curve is steep. I'm going to give Trail Memory a 3 out of 5. When it comes to games, my favorite category, the fun factor. This is why games exist. It's all about that instant dad grin, the kind you get from mowing down Tyranids with a power sword or bolter fire while your squad is cheering and yelling over the headset. It's the pure joy of combat and the satisfaction of coordinated chaos. When Space Marine 2 is firing on all cylinders, it's a kinetic beast. Melee hits crunch, bolters sound amazing, and the screen will flood with enemies, begging you to be purged, and nails the franchise power fantasy and will channel that Gears of War meets Halo 3 energy, especially in co-op, as it's chaotic and glorious. Class builds, weapon mods, and ability combos will let F5 dads and players play their way. Whether you're the tanky hammer guy or the sneaky support dude, and whether you're in campaign or operations mode, you're going to feel like an unstoppable force. The campaign might not be the longest. As I stated previously, it does come in around 10 to 12 hours, but it will deliver big set pieces and some awesome battles. Not gonna lie, I loved it. The mission variety and the boss fights hit just right, although they do include wave-type combat that will come into play every now and then, and honestly, that was the least favorite of mine when it came to the campaign. Still, the moment-to-moment gameplay is an F5 dad and player's dream. It includes loud laughs, fist pumps, and squad banter that seems to hit just right. I had a great time, and it's fun. The fun factor for me hits a 4 out of 5. Well, my Space Marine fans, it's been wild, but sadly, we're at the campaign end, and it's final verdict time for Space Marine 2. Honestly, this is why I've been playing video games for nearly 40 years. To get away from day-to-day life and just sit down and play and have fun. Space Marine 2 delivered. I had a blast mowing down Tyranids, and sure, the game can get repetitive, but the great action, the violent acts of Tyranid dismemberment will easily make you forget and keep pushing on. And guess what? I did beat the campaign, so you should already know that I'm a fan. I played solo and co-op, and I enjoy both. And of course, playing with friends will always escalate the fun factor, but you will have just as much fun playing solo. With beating the campaign, I did play operations and the end game, but honestly, I didn't stick with it. Again, not because it's not fun, but rather, I probably have a backlog of about 1,000 games that I want to get through, which I already know I won't. And the same with PvP. Quickly tried it just for the review, and that's it. So if that's your thing, have at it, because I can tell you, you're going to have a lot of fun. So solo players, rejoice and enjoy the carnage. Leaving PvP out of it and dabbling in some endgame content and beating the campaign, I would still pay full price, as it's totally worth it. Additionally, the longevity is there, but the resiliency grind is real, as time needed to be the Captain Titus of the leaderboards will probably take a lifetime. Well, maybe not that long, but I can tell you, you've been warned. For my fellow F5 dads and players, Space Marine 2 gets a final verdict of 4 out of 5 and considered to be high score worthy and a definite dad pick. As trust me, if you're a shooter fan and enjoy hectic carnage, stop listening to me and just go out and buy Space Marine 2, as you're going to have a blast. Well, before you do that, do me the favor, hit that like button if you enjoyed the review, click subscribe, hit the bell, and feel free to make any additional requests of games you might want to see me review down in the comments. So till next time, hit F5, reset and reload. I'm F5 Dad Reloaded. I'll see you next time.